In a land cloaked in mist and old traditions, a child was born unlike any other. Her name was Adalgo, and from the moment she drew her first breath, she was marked by the moon itself. While other babies had hair of raven black or sun-kissed gold, Adalgo's was a cascade of pure, shimmering silver. It flowed like liquid starlight, a sight so strange and beautiful it struck a chord of fear in the hearts of her people. They whispered in hushed tones, their eyes filled with suspicion. Silver hair was an omen, a sign of something unnatural, something to be wary of. The elders spoke of ancient prophecies, of chaos and change brought by those who were different. And so Adalgo grew up in the shadow of their fear, an outsider in her own home. She played alone in the meadows, her silver hair a stark contrast to the vibrant green of the grass. The other children, echoing their parents' anxieties, would watch from a distance, never daring to come close. They called her the Ghost Girl, a name that clung to her like a second skin. Yet, despite the loneliness that surrounded her, Adalgo was never truly alone. The world seemed to sing to her in a language only she could understand. The rustle of leaves was a friendly greeting, the babble of a brook a cheerful conversation. As Adalgo blossomed from a girl into a young woman, the true nature of her silver hair began to reveal itself. It wasn't a curse, but a miraculous, untamed gift. One summer, a relentless heatwave gripped the land. The sun beat down with merciless intensity, baking the earth until it cracked. The village well, the heart of their community, ran dry. Its once cool, life-giving depths were now just dust and stone. Panic began to set in. The people prayed, they dug deeper, but nothing worked. Desperation was a palpable thirst in the air. Watching the worried faces of her people, a quiet resolve stirred within Adalgo. She walked to the dry well, her silver hair shimmering under the harsh sun. The villagers watched, their skepticism warring with a sliver of hope. She reached out, her fingers tracing the parched stone rim, and then she let a single strand of her silver hair fall into the empty abyss. A low rumble echoed from deep within the earth. It started as a whisper, then grew into a steady gurgle. A moment later, cool, clear water surged upwards, filling the well to the brim, overflowing onto the thirsty ground. The villagers stared speechless. The water was sweeter and colder than they had ever remembered. For the first time, the whispers about Adalgo changed. Fear began to give way to awe. This was only the beginning of Adalgo's wonders. Her connection to the natural world was profound, almost symbiotic. She could walk into a barren field where crops had withered and died, and with a gentle touch coax new life from the soil. Green shoots would unfurl at her command, reaching for the sky. She could calm a raging storm, her voice a soothing melody that persuaded the angry winds to quiet down and the dark clouds to part. The animals of the forest, once shy and elusive, treated her as one of their own. Great stags would bow their heads as she passed, and birds would land softly on her shoulders, singing their secrets into her ear. She was a living, breathing miracle, a bridge between the human world and the wild, untamed magic of the earth. Her people, who had once shunned her, now sought her out. They came to her with their troubles, not with fear, but with respect. Adalgo, in her quiet grace, helped them all. She healed the sick, mended what was broken, and shared the wisdom whispered to her by the wind and trees. She was no longer the ghost girl. She was their guardian, their hope. But the greatest test of her power and of her people's newfound faith was yet to come. One fateful autumn, a dry wind swept down from the mountains. It was a hot, hungry wind that carried the scent of smoke. A tiny spark, born from a lightning strike in the distant, parched forest, was fanned into a flicker, then a flame, and then a raging inferno. A wall of fire, monstrous and unstoppable, began to race across the plains, devouring everything in its path. It moved with terrifying speed, its roar drowning out all other sounds. The sky turned a sickening orange, and ash rained down like black snow. Panic erupted in the village. People ran in every direction, grabbing their children and whatever meager possessions they could carry. The fire was a beast that could not be reasoned with, a force of pure destruction. Their homes, their fields, their entire world was about to be turned to ash. In the midst of the chaos, Adalgo stood calm and still. She walked to the edge of the village, to the very path of the approaching fire. The heat was immense, a physical blow that made the air shimmer. The roar of the flames was deafening. The villagers who remained watched her, their hearts pounding with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. Was her magic strong enough for this? Adalgo stood her ground, a lone figure against the apocalypse. The flames, now towering like fiery giants, were almost upon her. She closed her eyes, not in fear, but in concentration. She took a deep breath, drawing in the smoky air, and began to untie the leather cord that bound her hair. She let it loose, and it billowed out around her, a swirling vortex of liquid silver. It seemed to have a life of its own, glowing with an intense, otherworldly light that pushed back against the fire's glare. She raised her hands, and her hair rose with them, reaching towards the inferno. She didn't shout or scream. Instead, she began to sing. Her voice, clear and powerful, wove a melody of water and rain, of cool river stones and deep, silent lakes. As she sang, her silver hair surged forward, not like hair at all, but like a tidal wave. It was a river of moonlight crashing against a sea of fire. The moment the silver strands touched the flames, there was a deafening hiss. Steam erupted in massive clouds, blotting out the sky. The silver wave washed over the fire, and where it passed, the inferno was extinguished. The monstrous roar was silenced, replaced by the sound of sizzling embers and Adalgo's steady, powerful song. She walked forward, step by step, her hair flowing ahead of her, quenching the fire line by line until all that remained was a smouldering, blackened landscape and a village saved from the brink of annihilation. When the last flame died, an awed silence fell over the land. Adalgo stood in the center of the blackened plain, her silver hair gently settling around her shoulders, its light slowly dimming. The villagers emerged from their hiding places, their eyes wide with disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. They saw not a witch or an omen, but a savior. They saw the girl they had feared, the woman who had just commanded the elements to save them. They ran to her, not with suspicion, but with open arms. They wept, they cheered, they touched her silver hair with reverence, its texture cool and smooth like flowing water. From that day forward, the story of Adalgo and her magical silver hair was woven into the very fabric of their culture. It was no longer a cautionary tale whispered in the dark, but a legend sung around the fire. A story of courage, acceptance, and the extraordinary power that can be found in what is different. They learned that true strength doesn't come from being the same, but from embracing the unique gifts each person carries. Adalgo, once the lonely outsider, became the heart of her community, a living reminder that miracles often wear the most unexpected disguises, and her silver hair, once a symbol of fear, became their most cherished beacon of hope, shining brightly for all generations to come. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from our magical world. See you next time.